guys, so that firstly thank you to Peter and thank you to Jason for doing those videos. I learned a hell of a lot, so I thought what I'd do is I'd work backwards and show you how I arrived at that. First of all, I'm just going to make the signet in matrix and then we'll get the hell out of that. I have a mortal allergy to working in Tsplines inside the matrix interface, so I think it was ladies ring. I'm going to stick with size M. And once you have the ring inside your interface, you can just middle click it and pop up signet ring. Alright, and that'll start drawing the signet ring for you. Of course, our signet ring had a round profile, well, an oval profile anyway, and yeah, it was kind of, I'm just going to kind of wing it over here. It was sort of like that, I reckon. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to press enter, and that's as far as I'm going to work in matrix. Oh, hang on, I'm just going to hollow this out first. So I'm going to scale that with copy from F4, and I'm just going to scale it in with the wall thickness of about 1 millimeter, alright. And in my side views, I'm going to just scale it in a little bit. Scale one-dimensionally inwards, like so. And then in the side view, I'm just going to scale. I might do a page edit actually. Bounding box, and let's just pull these points up. Something like that. That look about right. Okay, and then we're just going to do a BD. So you, Boolean difference with you, chuck that away. And just make sure that what we're looking at is right. Okay, so we have our hollow ring that we're going to work with. Okay, I'm going to Control C this, and I'm going to move to Rhino 5 for my Tsplines, and I'm going to Control V it into here. Alright, now I'm going to turn that layer off. Just go to my layers quickly, and I'm going to turn that layer off and we'll come back to it later. So for now, I've picture framed this deer thing, whatever it is you're calling it, a reindeer, and I'll show you the Tsplines workflow, which actually is not far off of what I've seen Justin do topolizing inside of ZBrush, except that here we're going to work in reverse. Alright, so I'm going to create 3 lines. I'm going to create a line with 3 segments. I'm going to start, kind of the secret to this is figuring out your topology before you get going. Alright, so I'm going to go with there, 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 and there. Alright, so what you need to do now is to just extrude this. So I'm just going to pull up my Tsplines manipulator and use the mover, and I'm just going to move it once. Alright, so I'm holding down the Alt key and I'll just move it once to create some geometry. Alright, I'm going to escape out of there. I'm going to grab that original curve and just toss it. So now you can start extruding stuff as you move along. Alright, so I'm going to make sure I'm in my edge mode. Okay, I'm in my edge mode and I want the move manipulator, and I'm going to start extruding stuff. Need a little bit down there, there, there. I'm just going to quickly go over to edit mode, and we're just going to move these points around to give us kind of what we need for the shape over there. Alright. Probably I want to come around a little bit more there, and I think anybody who knows anything about subdivision modeling, less is more. Okay, so let's grab that edge again and just extrude it one last time like that. Okay, I'm going to go in point mode, and I'm not going to get too pedantic about moving stuff around now, because once you start extruding this, everything starts looking really odd. So there's a couple of things you can do now. You can extrude your way around here and around there, or you can just copy these faces and carry on. I like to extrude because I like to give myself a lot of work. Alright, so I'm going to go to edge mode and I'm going to use my move. And then of course what I'm doing is I'm just using, what I'm doing here is I'm following this line, and I'll come in afterwards and move my move my points. Okay, so we're going to go into points, and I'm just going to move my points this way around, just to follow the shape that we need. And over here. Now I think I've extruded too many things over here, to be honest. I think I could have got away with a lot less. But okay, no one's perfect. And of course you don't need to use the manipulator to move them, you can just move them with the mouse. I think that's probably enough over there. This needs to come out a little bit here, I think. And let's start working on this one. Alright, so line mode. You Alt key down, and remember that I'm following this line here to there with this edge. And then I'm switching over to verts mode and just pull these in as you need. So this is not too dissimilar to what you guys were doing with starting out tracing curves, or to what Peter was doing following geometry around, except that I'm creating something that's going to have a mesh weight that's negligible because I'm creating the actual polygons by hand. Alright, so yes, it seems like more work now, but you win in the long run because you have a mesh weight that's quite low. I'm going to extrude another edge over there. Sorry, I'm a little bit pedantic about things like this. I remember that the first time I did this, I think it took about an hour to create just a really blobby looking thing. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to work our way up to about here, to this area here. So I'm going to, we know that we have 3 of them travelling up, so I need another line. Oh, let's just grab these ones, doesn't matter how we get there. Huh? So I'm going to go you, and you, and you. Now I think I'm going to follow this line for now, and then I'll fix the topology as I go around. So we can afford to be a little bit sloppy here because it's not really a big curvature we're working with. Alright, then we're going to go in and start dragging stuff. I'm kind of dividing up that neckline area into 3 again. Okay. I'm going to just go over to edge modes. Okay. And I have to tell you that sometimes that little Tsplines manipulator annoys the living shit out of me because it gets in the way of the points that you're trying to select. I think I might just be an annoyable kind of person because a lot of things about a lot of software are starting to annoy me nowadays. And maybe it's just that I'm an annoying person or with an annoying personality. If you ask my wife, she'd say that's probably sounds around about right. Okay, so we've kind of followed this topology around here. This has been the easy part so far. Now this is where it starts getting a bit more sticky, because now we're going to have to start figuring out how we're going to join stuff up to get it to go around. I'm going to add an extra fine set of topology here because I have to define this. I remember the first time I think I had to come in and insert some edges, so I'm going to try and do it better this time. I'm going to grab that and that and that, and I'm going to create a second very tight set here, which hopefully is going to allow me to get a bit more definition. Oops. Hey!
Daddy, might get the school name Survival Crafts.
Get a bit more definition going around here. Alright. I also often wonder, why do you try to do everything in one piece? Why not do this as 2 separate pieces and bring the cheek around? No idea. Oh, maybe what I might do is I might do this part like that, and I might see how I'm going to go about pulling this out as a quad ball. Or this is the beauty of Tsplines. I think sometimes there's so many different ways to arrive at the same sort of point. Now I see this as being a lower section here and then a fatter section there, How am I going to go about this? Okay, I think I'm just going to keep going. You and you and you, and mover and alt, and I'm going to pull out something to about there. Alright, let's grab that point, grab that point, bring it into about there, you to about there. Now if you need any more info on how to do this kind of topology layout, Glenn Southern's DVDs on this subject are just absolutely fantastic. It's some of the best information you could find. His videos are for Silo, which I used quite a lot. I was going to do this video in Silo, but then the problem is I don't know how many people actually use Silo, so it would be pointless for me to introduce yet another piece of software into this. But for those of you that like Tsplines and you want to expand those skills a little bit further with a full subdivision modeler, Silo is an excellent piece of software worth investing in. Alright, so I'm going to bring that kind of around to there. Alright, we're going to have to work our way around the eye a little bit later on. I might start pulling the ear out now from here. Alright, so I'm going to grab you. Alright, and I'm going to follow this sort of section here. So I might grab that too. You and you, you and you. And I'm going to follow this bottom part of the ear. To like there. Alright, now let's get our points. Now oddly enough, when I watch 3dcoat videos on this topic, you get all these guys are doing all the sculpting in 3dcoat, then they end up having to come back and do this again anyway, because they have to retopolize their geometry so that they can get it light enough to bring inside of the game engines and stuff. I'm not sure that I'm going in the right direction with this here, but alright, we'll do that for now. And do that, and then bring that ear around. I think we're going to have to extrude those 4 outwards, so let's grab those 4. And remembering that I'm only using edges in a flat plane at the moment. Alright, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to move that out to there. Okay, alright, header points on. Let's grab you. And remembering that when you extrude this, it's going to give you a nice softened piece of geometry. It's not going to be hard the way we're looking at it now. Right. Remember to back up every now and then and have a look at what you're doing, and also just remember that you will be most likely extruding singular faces from this at a later point. You might be you're going to push these faces in, you're going to tag and push and pull until everything's sort of sitting the way that you want. Alright, so far we kind of worked our way around here and it's kind of resembling what we want. I think this time I might not try the antlers together with the rest of it. I might just do a what I might do is stop talking and just do it. Sorry, I find sometimes when I'm doing these videos I can waffle on a little bit. I'm going to follow the bottom line and I'll fix in the top later. Now I'm going to need a bit of a lump. Now what I'm looking at here is I'm going to need to change direction and have a height difference. So I'm going to put in a step like this here. Then I'm going to come back out again to there. Alright. And what we're after now is to just start pulling the stuff up around and forming the head section. Now this closer bit of geometry here I think is going to help us try to get geometry that sort of follows the flow of what you're doing. Now I can tell, and I think I remember the first time I did this, whoopsie, I had problems with the mouth. So I'm going to, at this point in the game, I think I'm going to extrude from here, extrude that and this to form the eye, and I think I'm going to have to subdivide. I'm going to have to add another line through here to give me. Okay, we'll do that after I've extruded it. So I think I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start finishing up the eye. So I'm going to grab this guy. I'm just going to follow that sort of outside area like that. Okay, so I'm going to hold down the Alt key and start working my way around. And I'm just going to start fixing that up a little bit. I think I did mention somewhere earlier in the video that quite often with this kind of modeling, less is more. Don't try to over-engineer it too quickly in the initial section of your modeling, because it can quickly get really, really complicated. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move these points to fairly close proximity to each other, and then I'm going to weld the points to bring those two sections of the eye together. Are we good? Alright, so I'm looking for point weld. Is that fella over there? So I'm going to grab that, I'm going to weld those 2 points, and I'm going to grab that, I'm going to weld those 2 points. Okay, so we have this kind of geometry that's now flowed around. I know that I'm going to have a problem here. I'll figure out how to address that later. And then I'm going to put a sphere in there for the eye, to finish up the eye, and I might use pipe, the TS pipe, to do this section. Alright, so for now let's do an extrusion of that and see how we go. Okay, so I'm going to work in that view. I'll put on my ghosted viewport. Okay, so we're going to grab this guy and we're going to run TS thicken. Okay, and factor how high we want to thicken it. Alright. It's going to thicken it with only one set of vertices. So I might have to extrude all the faces a second time again. Alright. I'm going to go there. Alright, and I'm going to go TS smooth toggle to have a look at what we've got. So as you can see, is we've now got this nice sort of bulbous shape going on over there. The basis for what we're going to continue working with. So all the ZBrush guys are going, oh well shit, I'll just take it into ZBrush now and start, you know, detailing in the mouth. And now that I own 3dcoat, probably my next way of doing this would be like that. Alright. I think at this point in the game, let's chuck an eyeball in there so we can see what it is that we're doing. I'm going to make a sphere, something like that. Alright, and we're going to obviously pick that sphere up. Hey. So something like that, and I want to just scale it a little bit squidgy, and we have an eyeball. Alright, let's have a look at the antlers and then I'll get into the detailing. Alright, so we've been going kind of 19 minutes at it now. I think that I may go into, I tell you what, I think I might go into 3dcoat and have a crack at this in 3dcoat. Alright, so I'm going to go TS pipe to create the antlers. So TS pipe works on a curve. So Mr. Peter, there's our interpolated curve, and it has a degree 3, so I don't get myself in all kinds of shit again. And basically I'm just going to draw a curve. I'm going to have my near snap on. Like that, and we've got a kind of a thing coming out here. I might be wrong about this, so don't crucify me. It's not every day I've got to make deers, you know what I mean? Okay, and you'll notice that I'm not quite as pedantic as Jason about details, because I simply think that by the time you scale this down, there's so little left of the original information, and this piece is about, in American talk, this is about 1.5 by 1.5 inches, you know, the original. So it's going to be far smaller than that. Right? So I think the clients will obviously not expect there to be as much detail retained anyhow. So for TS pipe to work, I don't know if you need to TS split or not, I can't remember, but I just do it anyway. TS split curves, and what TS split curve does is it takes all the curves and splits them all with each other. Alright, so everything is all this series of little split curves. Alright, then I grab this half and we run TS pipe. And as you can tell, we've got a big fat ugly thing over there. That's because that radius is massive. I'm going to bring that radius down to about 0.5, and I think, is that doable? No, I wanted a bit more. I wanted 0.6. Yeah, I reckon 0.6 is the go. So I'm going to press enter on that one, and then we're going to come do it with this one. Same radius, thank you. Alright, so now we've got to smooth toggle these. TS smooth toggle. Whoops. Command line. TS smooth toggle. Alright, and same over here. TS smooth toggle. Alright, let's make this ghosted. Alright, so now what you're going to do is you're going to push and pull your geometry to make the antlers look kind of right for the deer. Alright, I'm going to move you down, I'm going to close you out, and we're going to start working probably in face mode. Alright, so I need to fill in this detail a little over here. That antler needs to go in behind the eyeball. And I've got a huge problem with my TS pipe is on the ground plane. Let's let go of the eyeball and bring those antlers up. Alright, that's better. Okay, so let's get working back in here again. Now there are shortcut keys for this. I detest shortcut keys. Alright, so that's why I keep my little manipulator out on the screen. And I find that I tend to get quite confused if I have my curves in the screen, so I'm about to delete them. Okay. I think the last time I did this, I didn't use TS pipe. I did a different method, and I thought to myself at the time, Jesus, I should have used TS pipe for that. TS pipe is my go-to for just about everything nowadays. And what I'm going to do is, I think we've got lots and lots of too much geometry in here, so I'm going to just pull some of it out and delete it. And because I know that I'm going to take this to 3dcoat, I'm going to not stress too much about how precise I get all of it to look. Start pulling the stuff around. Where are you? Am I working in a ghosted mode? I was pretty sure I was in ghosted. I wish I could ghost it a little bit more. Anybody knows how to do that on the fly without redoing your viewport, your settings for your viewport? I'd be interested in knowing how. I don't know, I've never actually seen an elk or a deer or whatever the hell this thing is, so I'm not entirely sure. Not you. So I'm not entirely sure how its antlers look really lumpy like this or not. Anybody tell me? I'd be quite interested in knowing. Do they make good eating? Because I like to eat them. Like when I was in Bangkok, I reckon I eat me some cat too. And I'm only putting that in the video for Kay, because I know that she really likes it, that I hate cats. And a little word on the lovers' spats that was happening on the forum. There is no right or wrong way to do anything. There's the way that you know that gets you paid, and that really is all there is to that. There really isn't, it to my knowledge, and not that I'm the most experienced CAD person there is, but to my knowledge there's not really any right or wrong way to do anything when it comes to this game. It's just the way that it's going to get the customer to give you the money so you can stick it in the till ready. Wow, that's really mucky. Chris, what's going on there? Okay, so I can already hear the ZBrush guys going, geez, let's just get finished already and get it into ZBrush so you can do that, you know, the way that you guys do it. But this is the way I know, so I'm going to just keep going at this and frustrate you all. Watching Peter do a Boolean difference by sliding his side panel up and down like a crazed person was very frustrating, so I want to just pay Peter back by showing him my long difficult way of doing things. I don't bloody know if that looks like an antler or not, to be honest with you. I think I might smooth that all up in 3dcoat. So is that looking alright? Thin that antler off a little bit. Oops. Thin that up a bit. And then just, I think this guy needs to bow his nose up a little bit over there. Down a bit over there. And I reckon let's go off to 3dcoat. Alright. So I'm going to grab all of that. I'm going to TS convert to Rhino Surf. I might just make a new layer first. New layer, Tsplines, and copy objects to layer and turn that layer off. And then TS convert to Rhino Surf and export as a OBJ. Desktop OBJ. Alright, give me a second while I fire up this. Okay, so we need to file, import mesh for voxelizing, and I'm downloading 7,000 movies in the background, which is why this is going pretty slow. What did I call that? OBJ, so why can't I find it? Hey, hang on a sec. OBJ, I'll do it this time. Come on. No, there we go. Sorry, so there's a 3DM just now. Okay. Now back to 3dcoat. OBJ. Okay, so where is it? There it is there. Alright, so what I'm looking at is that estimated poly count. I just increase that to get about million something polys. 2 million polys, good enough for me. And go apply. And go yes. And tap on the smooth button. So we got this guy in here, and it's kind of blended in the horns and the antlers and everything for us on the import. So we no longer have separate objects, they're all the same object. And I think Jason said it best, you really need a pen for this. I don't have my pen set up right at the minute. So with 3dcoat, if you're on your object with a mouse, I'm on the smooth brush at the moment, if you on the model and you right click and you drag, sideways will increase the side of the brush, up and down will increase the strength of the brush. Alright. So I'm just taking a smooth brush and I'm just kind of blending in this detail here so that the antlers are just make the strength of that smooth brush a bit. It is already pretty high here. I'm just wondering, this might have been faster to bloody do in Tsplines. Okay, then also the amount of polys you have, the more polys you have, not the less effective the smooth brush is, but the harder it has to work. So notice that now the smooth brush seems to work almost instantly because there's less voxels or whatever they are. Excuse my lack of definition of terminology there, but I don't make CAD, I use CAD, so quite often I couldn't really be bothered trying to figure out what does what. I just use the damn thing. Okay, so I'm just kind of blending that all in to each other over there. Yeah, looks pretty good to me. Now I've got to try and find an image of that damn mouth. I'm just going to pull this over onto the other screen there, and I need to hollow in over there. So I think the tool, oopsie, I think the tool that we used for that was Carve, and I don't want it with a brush. Was it smooth or was it grow? I think it was grow. And if you hold down Control, yeah, if you hold down Control, you can sort of hollow in your ear area, and then we need a little bit in the mouth area, and we need to build up that. So pressing the Control key, and we had to build up this area here. So not dissimilar to what I was watching you guys do in your ZBrush, and certainly a lot easier than trying to do this, for example, in Tsplines with the way that I had done it prior to this. Whoa, that was terrible. I'll smooth that back down. And then of course just the level of detail that you're going to need here is not always that high, so I'm going to go back to the grow thing and just grow him. What's he got, a bit of a lip thing happening over there. Then he has on the top of the ear, needs a bit of bolstering too. And this nose ridge area here, huh? Anything else? No, that's kind of it for me. Like everyone else was pointing out, the thing to remember, of course, too, is that most of the time this is going to be detail that's down to microns. You know, so don't stress yourself out too much about it. Hair. Well, I don't know how the hell you guys did hair. I think I did some hair sometime. What I did is I used the airbrush. Was it airbrush? I used a mask. Where were the masks? Brushes, masks. There we go. And I used something. What was that? Stone dirt. I actually had a hair coloring tips. There we go. So this hair, you can kind of rotate it and aim it in the direction you want, and you can kind of paint with the brush then. I don't know that that's working out too well for me, but okay, for what it's worth, there it is. I don't think that this would survive. I don't reckon it would survive milling and growing anyway. Okay, so the next part of this is then obviously to just subtract this from the ring. Okay, now I would just do this, typically I would have just done this in Rhino, okay, but I've figured out not too long ago how to do this in inside of this. So I'm going to just show this ring. We're going to export it, desktop, shank, ring thing, ring obj, just go OK and OK. Then we're going to go file, import. I'm going to go put that on a new layer. And go file and import. Hey, come on, file, import, mesh for voxelizing. And where was our ring? Shit, did I call it ring? We'll find out soon enough. 6 million polys, holy shit. Alright, okay, apply. That'll take a second to apply, and then I'll just resource it downwards. Okay, so smooth brush. Alright, so we've got those two on there. What I need to do is I need to just grab this. I'm going to rename that to ring, so I know which is which, and that is deer head, whatever the hell its name is. Rename deer. And yes, Peter, it's an unhappy deer, not a happy deer. Deer's not happy, its head's been cut off, mate. Alright, so the ring is the right scale, the Mr. Deer is not. Okay, so we're going to work with Mr. Deer, and we're going to go to the transform tool, and we're going to scale it smaller first of all, and obviously we're going to pick it up. I'm just going to zoom out and pick it up, and it needs to go there. Still needs to be scaled smaller again. Is that right? Yeah, bigger than that. Go on, Chris. So somewhere like that, and let's just move it down. There. And I think to scale the whole thing smaller again. Right, then what I want to do is just roll it around on itself exactly. Now I know that you can snap this, but it's a setting that you have to set. Bug it if I can remember how it is. Now I want to scale it just in its Z a little bit, so I get a bit more detail. And put it into the head about that far. Alright. Move that up like that, and then we're just going to difference them from each other. Okay, might give that a bit more Z again. I just want to see it while I got it, and you just stick that in just deep enough to do the part that you need. Alright. If you wanted to soften the shank, the time to do it will be now. Alright, before you do this difference, because otherwise you're going to do too much detail there. So I'm at 6.5 million polys here. I'm going to resample it downwards. From that, and pull that down to about, you don't need more than 1 million for this. Alright, probably you could even get away with less. And I'm going to change that to smooth, the way that it does the resampling. Okay, give that a second to just reduce, and I'm going to run a few smoothing passes on that. Boom, 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 boom. Alright. Now I know that if I subtract that deer head, let's have a look at the deer head, I have two different densities over here. Okay, so the deer is at 0.8 and the ring is not. So the ring I'm going to just increase its res once. Okay, 0.6 was not quite enough, so the deer, what you need to do, you need to try and resample them down to, about the same resolution, so when you do the Boolean difference you haven't got a problem. So the deer, I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to go subtract from the ring, and voila, you have Mr. Deer ring. Alright, now it might not be the nicest deer you ever seen in your life, but shit, that's not bad going, and I think that's about 40 minutes. So this process for me reduced my workflow by about 20 minutes. I'll have a look at that. Should have cut right through the ring. So we're going to go Control Z. Alright, and and we're going to move Mr. Deer up a little bit. So let's grab the deer and go up, up, up. Mr. Deer, actually I'm going to scale him smaller and then just put him back about there. Right, then we're going to subtract him again. So subtract from ring. That's better. Okay, so now you have a nice smooth ring, all your geometry is fine, and you can bring this back into Rhino for the rest of your job. And it's not a bad looking deer. It makes a pretty good quick signet, and you can then go in here and detail this again if you need. I don't generally do more than this. I find that even this fine detail you're working with here is not going to survive milling and casting anyway. Okay, so I'll just put a shader on that. Shader, where's gold? There's gold. And as you can tell, it looks pretty, you know, it looks nice. And for me, this workflow has been, I don't know, I'm not saying it's better than ZBrush, but it's been simpler than ZBrush, because the tools work pretty much the same way that I understand Rhino tools to work. And it seems to be just a lot less effort to get things going. And of course, if I was trying to do it from scratch using the tools inside 3dcoat and not my Tsplines, this could have had a completely different outcome for me. Anyway, so for what it's worth, that's my take on this job. Guys, cheers, Chris out.